Good morning, everybody, on this wonderful full moon of February. Today is what's called the Magha full moon. It's also, throughout the Theravada tradition, remembered as Sangha Day. So the day Vesak, the anniversary of the Buddha's birthday, is called Buddha Day. And the day at the beginning of the Rains Retreat is called Dhamma Day, and today is called Sangha Day. Why is that? Well, there are several different important events during the lifetime of the Buddha that were that occurred on this full moon day, and one of them is the day when the Buddha gave the authorization to those bhikkhus whom he had ordained to ordain other bhikkhus. So the Sangha had grown and progressed to the point that there was a qualified group of monks, and Buddhism was able to start to spread all throughout the world. It was no longer practical for each person who wanted to ordain to come personally in front of the Buddha himself to receive the going forth. The Buddha was encouraging the monks to travel throughout the world, no two going in the same direction, to give the news of this Dhamma teaching, and then to be able to give the ordination so that it was possible then for this monastic form of Buddhism to grow and to spread throughout India and subsequently throughout the whole world. Another something that we remember during this season is particularly related to the Bhikkhuni Sangha. This is the day that we will actually, this upcoming week is the week that we remember the Buddha's stepmother, Mahapajapati, who was the first woman to receive the going forth, and who was the founder and leader of the Bhikkhuni Sangha. She had a very long and powerful career. She ordained many hundreds of women. She taught them. She facilitated the women to obtain their full awakening, and really established the Bhikkhuni Sangha as in relationship to the fourfold Sangha, the bhikkhus, bhikkhunis, male and female dedicated disciples of the Buddha. So that's the fourfold Sangha, but within that, the Bhikkhuni Sangha had its own independence, its own validity. So the women's Sangha was not continuously mixed in together with the Bhikkhu Sangha. They had their own spaces, their own establishments, their own places of practice, their own alms round, their own supporters. And because of that separation, in a certain way, it became possible for the women's Sangha to show its own power in a way that perhaps would not have been possible if they were continuously overshadowed by the accomplishments of the Buddha or the more powerful Bhikkhu Sangha, given the attitudes that people had before about men and women, that thinking of the women being in the background. But when the women had their own separate places, their own identity, they were able to find their own unique strength. It's said that shortly before the parinibbana, before leaving this life, that Mahapajapati exhibited many miraculous manifestation, being up in the sky and showing flames from above and water from below, and doing the very similar kind of a visual miraculous display that the Buddha had done on a different occasion. And so this memory, this recollection of those miracles and of the power of her full awakening is another aspect of how we see the power and the integrity of her as the leader of the Bhikkhunis and of the Bhikkhuni Sangha. Another something that happened on this particular full moon day was the occasion where Sariputta, who at that time had not yet encountered the Buddha and was a religious seeker, met Asaji, who was a disciple of the Buddha. And upon hearing a short 4-line explanation of the teachings, the Sariputta had his initial realization just from hearing those 4 lines, and went on to become one of the most accomplished and powerful of all the monastics during the lifetime of the Buddha. I just want to share with you those lines, which is perhaps part of the meditation theme for today. This is what he said in Pali. Ye Dhamma hetu pabhava te sanghetum tathagato aha te sanchayo niroto evang vadi mahasamano. Of those phenomena which arise from causes, these causes have been taught by the Tathagata, and their cessation too thus proclaims the Great One. Thus proclaims the great ascetic. I had declared a theme for this teaching, seeing what has come to be, or seeing reality as it really is. In the Pali, the expression is yatha bhuta jnana dasana. This is exactly what Asaji is speaking of in that brief teaching. It's about all things arising because of causes and conditions. And I'm going to circle back to that after the precepts and speak a little bit further about that theme. But we can remember that this full moon day was the day very early in the first, I think that was in the second year of Buddhism, the second year after the Buddha's full awakening, when Sariputta had that encounter and heard those 4 lines, everything that arises, everything that has a cause, seeing how it arises, and seeing also the cessation of everything that has arisen. That's the fundamental truth. When we get that, we'll have the essence. Let's come back and recite the precept determination. Oh, this is kind of funny, isn't it? When taking precepts or reaffirming our dedication to the morality, to upholding the precepts that we've undertaken, what kind of attitude do we have? Do we have an attitude to say, oh, I'm no good, I have to do better? The way I was is no good. Let me have a different way of being than the way I had before. That, I think, would be a wrong attitude to have when undertaking precepts, because in essence, that would be that you're like, I don't agree with reality. I reject reality. And that's kind of like contrary to the purpose. The purpose, I think, would rather be to know, I've taken this human birth. That's a condition that it exists for me. I've had a chance to encounter the teachings of the Dhamma. That's a condition that exists for me. And it's possible for me to undertake these precepts. That's a condition for me. That's a reality. If it were not possible for you to undertake these precepts, the Buddha would not have asked you to do so. He would not have invited you to do something that's possible. He invites you because it is possible. And so one can take the precepts recognizing this reality, part of the conditions that are supporting our practice. I'm going to share the screen and ask Malini to unmute herself and to read the read off the precepts, read off the invitation for the precepts. And then I invite everybody to get in mind, if you have a Buddha Rupa in the room where you are, that when you bow, you can bow to the Rupa who's there with you. Or if you don't have a Rupa with you in the room, you can bow to the one that you can see on the screen. Okay. Okay, the first line belongs to you, Malini. Are you able to pronounce them? Okay.
Yes. Mayam aye tisaranena saha atta silani yajama dutiyampi mayam aye tisaranena saha atta silani yajama tatiyampi mayam aye tisaranena saha atta silani yajama.
In English?
We, Venerable, request the 3 refuges and the 8 precepts. For the second time, Venerable, we request the 3 refuges and the 8 precepts. For the third time, Venerable, we request the 3 refuges and the 8 precepts.
And now I recite the Namo Tassa, and then afterwards you all recite together. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa.
Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa.
And recite in English.
Homage to the Blessed, Noble, and Perfectly Enlightened One. Homage to the Blessed, Noble, and Perfectly Enlightened One. Homage to the Blessed, Noble, and Perfectly Enlightened One.
And repeating line by line after me. Buddhang Saranang Gacchami.
Buddhang Saranang Gacchami.
Dhammang Saranang Gacchami.
Dhammang Saranang Gacchami.
Sanghang Saranang Gacchami.
Sanghang Saranang Gacchami.
Say in English.
To the Buddha I go for refuge. To the Dhamma I go for refuge. To the Sangha I go for refuge.
Dutiyampi Buddhang Saranang Gacchami.
Dutiyampi Buddhang Saranang Gacchami.
Dutiyampi Dhammang Saranang Gacchami.
Dutiyampi Dhammang Saranang Gacchami.
Dutiyampi Sanghang Saranang Gacchami.
Dutiyampi Sanghang Saranang Gacchami. For the second time, to the Buddha I go for refuge. For the second time, to the Dhamma I go for refuge. For the second time, to the Sangha I go for refuge.
Tatiyampi Buddhang Saranang Gacchami.
Tatiyampi Buddhang Saranang Gacchami.
Tatiyampi Dhammang Saranang Gacchami.
Tatiyampi Dhammang Saranang Gacchami.
Tatiyampi Sanghang Saranang Gacchami.
Tatiyampi Sanghang Saranang Gacchami. For the third time, to the Buddha I go for refuge. For the third time to the Dhamma, I go for refuge. For the third time to the Sangha, I go for refuge.
Tisarnagamanam nititam. This completes the going to the 3 refuges.
Ama Aye. Yes, Venerable.
Paranatipata veramani sikkapadang samadhiyami.
Panatipata veramani sikapadang samhadiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from taking the life of any living creature.
Adinnadana veramani sikkapadang samadhiyami.
Adinadana veramani sikapadang samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from taking that which is not given.
Abrahmacharya veramani sikkapadang samadhiyami.
Abrahmacharya veramani sikapadang samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from any intentional sexual activity.
Musavada veramani sikkapadang samadhiyami.
Musavada veramani sikapadang samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from lying.
Surameraya majjapamadhatthana veramani sikkapadang samadhiyami.
Surameraya majjapamadhatthana veramani sikapadang samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from consuming intoxicating drink and drugs which lead to carelessness.
Vikala bhojana veramani sikkapadang samadhiyami.
Vikala bhojana veramani sikapadang samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from eating at inappropriate times.
Nacha gita vadita visukadasana mala gandha vilepana dharana mantana vibhusanatana veramani sikkapadang samadhiyami.
Nata gita vadita visukadasana mala ganda vilepana dharana mandana vibhusanatana veramani sikapadang samhadiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from entertainment, beautification, and adornment.
Uchasayana mahasayana veramani sikkapadang samadhiyami.
Uttasayana mahasayana veramani sikapadang samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from lying on a high or luxurious sleeping place.
Imani atta sikkapadane samadhiyami. These are the 8 precepts.
Imani atta sikapadani samadhiyami. Imani atta sikapadani samadhiyami. Imani atta sikapadani samadhiyami. I undertake these 8 precepts. I undertake these 8 precepts. I undertake these 8 precepts.
Imani atta sikkapadani. Silena sugatim yanti, silena bhaga sambhada, silena nimbutim yanti, sasma silang visodhaye. These are the 8 precepts. Virtue is the source of happiness. Virtue is the source of true wealth. Virtue is the source of peacefulness. Therefore, let virtue be purified.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. as an ideal preparation for a day of meditation and practice, or for many different kinds of activities in life. It's a purification of the heart to review and to renew our intention, our clear intention that we have towards these precepts. Both the intention to avoid harming others or harming oneself. The first 5 precepts are really the precepts that are against harm. And then in the last 3 precepts, to undertake the behavior of body, speech, and mind, which supports the allayment of greed, the calming down of excitement, and the weakening of those underlying tendencies that otherwise keep moving us around and around in this circular process of samsara, going around in rebirth based on different kinds of greed. So reducing our sensual desire, reducing the indulgence in all kinds of sensual pleasures is one way to make a step towards that, moving towards calmness, which is creating a space which is more clear, and within that clear and quiet space, it's possible to see more clearly and to understand more clearly. Likewise, these last 3 precepts are indirectly addressing the tendency that people have to be driven by their hatred and dislike. Why is that? It's because the very first thing that an uninformed, untrained person might tend to do if they encounter something that's unpleasant, they run to pleasures in order to escape from displeasure. So to the extent that one's life is really horrible and stressful, one might become all the more compulsive in going towards different kinds of pleasures. This is how ordinary pleasures become addictions. So then when we undertake these precepts to simplify our lives by not eating all day long and all night long, by not lounging about on high and luxurious seats and beds, and by not distracting ourselves with different kinds of shows and entertainment, we then become forced to be present in a quiet, silent atmosphere to see what's really going on with us, to experience our own thoughts and feelings. And so we're no longer running away from ourselves. Instead, we are patiently and with kindness tolerating having as our companion our own self, our own mind, the thoughts that come along and the feelings that come along, and to just accept those thoughts and feelings as the reality that we have to look at, that we have to work with, and not to be running away. So those 3 precepts are a very powerful aspect of the initial training of meditation. Yata Buddha Jnana Dasana knowing and seeing reality as it has come to be. When I first heard this idea very early in my experience with Buddhism, it was coming about in the context of my own like failures and weaknesses, being subject to a lot of emotional distress and difficult feelings or difficult reactions and so forth. Then I thought that this teaching was, in a certain way, almost like a cop-out. Like it was saying, there, don't worry. Of course, you're not yet enlightened, and so it's natural that you should be so imperfect, that you should have so many evil thoughts and so many evil and unskillful reactions to things. It's just because of causes and conditions, so don't make it a bigger problem than it is. Just bring mindfulness and compassion to observe your own process, and to begin to understand where these bad tendencies are coming from and how they're arising. We could say that that's could be one of the entry points to investigate dependent origination. The Bodhisattva, Gautama, when he did that same exploration, his starting point was more in terms of old age, sickness, and death, and having the sensitive heart and also the moral courage not to just look the other way, not to pretend that those things were not realities, not to pretend that those things were not painful, but instead to say, wow, everyone is subjected to this pain. Everyone is subjected to these laws. Everyone is subjected to this sorrow, lamentation, grief, and despair. Is there a way out? Is there a way that a being can escape from old age, sickness, death, sorrow, grief, lamentation, and despair? And it was from that investigation that the development of what we know as the dependent origination comes to be. He was going backwards from sort of the culmination of suffering and saying, well, suffering comes about because of birth. With our modern perspective these days in our culture, Western culture, evolution is something that's very sort of like Darwinian evolution is sort of ingrained as a powerful and important way of looking at our human nature. And so we could see that when one takes a birth as a human being, you get a whole package of tendencies that are already like wired into your system. That everything that has to do with survival, with mating, with having children, with taking care of your children, with striving for success, even your intellectual abilities, or ability to plan, your ability to imagine things, your creativity, as well as your hatred and your ability to undertake acts of unspeakable cruelty towards enemies. All of these things are like in the package. You got it in your genetic package when you got that human birth. And then other beings who got a different kind of a birth, if they were born as a robin or an eagle or a worm, each one got their own particular package of tendencies or patterns that are kind of like built in when they get that particular kind of birth. So this is what the Buddha is talking about. That's when we get birth. And so, right, we can stop chastising ourselves for being a human being. To that extent, the advice that I got as a baby Buddhist at the very first months and first couple of years of practice was true. That we don't blame ourselves. It's what's come to be. And then the circumstances that lead to taking a rebirth, as the Bodhisattva investigated further and further back, realizing how this craving, clinging, and becoming is part of the pattern that's creating the precondition for taking a birth. We go all our life long. We spend 40, 50, 60, 70, 100 years wanting to live, wanting to stay alive, and with more or less levels of conscious intention, doing everything that we can do to get a little bit more life. Even one of my relatives had a particular kind of a very fast cancer, and his wife really wanted him to live. They spent so many tens and tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars, trying different kinds of experimental treatments for cancer that were not even covered by insurance because there was so much in the realm of experimentation. And with all of these severe experiments, this was, my relative had been an engineer in the automotive industry, and his training was, if you find a problem, you look for the solution, and you try that, and if that solution doesn't work, you take the next best solution and you try that, and if that didn't work, you take the next best solution and try that, and then you keep trying one experiment after another until you find the solution to your engineering problem. And so he was, in a way that was very brutal on his own body, undertaking experiments on his body, which in the end added like less than 2 weeks to his lifespan, at the cost of so much so much painful effort. So we do this throughout our life. We try to live. We keep day after day, we eat food. Day after day, we earn money. Day after day, we do what we have to do to provide for our shelter and clothing and what we need. Day after day, we seek to have the human companionship of loving family, friends, and relatives, without which our existence would almost seem to be impossible. If we didn't have human companions, it feels like we would die, and so we have to have it. And we keep seeking and seeking and seeking. And because of that, then when it comes to the last moment, well, why not? That's just what your mind has been doing for the past 40, 50, 60, 100 years, is seeking to get a little more life. And then you don't know how to stop that pattern and go to a different pattern, the pattern of accepting the cessation of this lifespan. But the training, the special training that we have as Buddhists is to see the danger in all of the things that we naturally do to provide for our livelihood, and seeing that when those activities are accompanied by that greed for a little bit more existence, a bit more continuation of our existence, that it's perpetuating the wheel of samsara, perpetuating our suffering. But that there is a possibility to put it down. We don't actually have to carry that greed. We can be balanced on the perfect equanimity, perfect attitude of patient bearing towards the existence that we have. Bearing up to the fact, I have a body, I'm a human, I'm feeding this body, I'm washing this body, I'm taking care of this body, but I'm doing it from this attitude of patient bearing. This is I would like to say this is my last existence, if it were true, but I'm not cultivating that craving, that hunger, that thirst, which is constantly making us compulsive towards the things that we do to sustain continuing this life. There's something that is very much developed in the Nibbana sermons regarding the what's called bhava tanha and vibhava tanha. So bhava, that's one of the steps in dependent origination. It's sometimes translated as existence or sometimes as becoming. When we have the wrong view about our essence of ourself being something real and something that could be eternal, and then having the based on that, it doesn't even have to be an actual belief system. It could be something that we assume. We never really thought about it, but we want to continue this life. We want to continue to exist, and then some kind of a danger to the self causes a big reaction. And then the other side of that, the vibhavatana, the desire for the annihilation or destruction or getting rid of this life. If we know that existence is fraught with sorrow, pain, sickness, death, sorrow, lamentation, and then if we want to get rid of it. So we still believe that we have a self, and we want to destroy it. We want to annihilate it. That's kind of the opposite side. That's the Scylla and Charybdis of existence. So then those two sides of existence that have to do with wrong view about a self. There's something that's in between that, which is yatha bhuta jnana dasana, seeing reality as it has become. So there's a continuous flow of causes and conditions which are manifesting through this body, the different aspects of mentality, through our experience, constantly flowing, constantly changing. And what one experiences in any particular moment is like the snapshot of everything that has come to be because of the whole flow of all the preceding conditions. But it's only for a moment, because the flow of conditionality is still going onwards. There's a way that when you study about how the mind fabricates so many fictional and unreal things about seeing everything in the world measured against our own self-centered point of view, that we're fabricating a world that's in a way kind of like serving our existence. But when we start to study the Dhamma, and we start to see how the mind does all this fabrication, it can become sort of discouraging in another way, saying, well, is there anything real? So this craving for heaven or craving for a permanent existence is not real. Craving for annihilation is not real. Craving for everything that's related to all of our opinions and views and constructions and self-identity, thinking I'm better than others, I'm worse than others, I'm equal to others, thinking these things are good for me, these things are bad for me, it's too hot, it's too cold, it's just right. All these kind of fabrications that the mind is constantly churning on and on with, because it's what we inherited when we became a human being. We've got a mind that keeps going on and on with this creative flow of fabrication. And it would be possible to then be distressed because whatever we think seems to be not real, not true. But what I'm going to kind of suggest, as this is like the theme for today, is there is with this perfection of the moment arising because of all the preceding causes. The yatha bhuta, yatha means like, bhuta means existing or becoming. So, like how it became, that's the reality. A powerful moment that I experienced on my path, I mentioned this even within this retreat. There was an occasion where I was hiking in Maine, and it was cold, it was drizzling, it was foggy, and I was hiking by myself, and I stopped to rest on a mossy rock in that cold rainforest with the conifers. The moss was so abundant. The moss was like this high. It was like 4 inches high, really, really deep moss on the rock. And what I felt in that moment is that the rock and the moss and the birds and the trees and the ground and the sky and the rain were all perfectly adapted. Everything that existed in that scene had developed to be matching for those conditions. And so there was the kind of a stability and a perfect balance within the life and the material, all the material aspects of what was present there at that moment in the forest. And I experienced myself as being a visitor who was not belonging within that scene, because I was not really comfortable sitting and resting on a deep mattress of wetness on that mossy rock with a temperature that was not quite the right temperature for this body. It was cold. And knowing that actually I would not be able to rest for a long time there because it would be too cold. I'd have to get up and start moving. But in terms of today's theme, it seems to me that in a certain way, what exists in nature has that kind of perfect manifestation of causes and conditions. And I was experiencing basically the self-delusion about my own comfort level and my own survivability, my own position, like where does the I fit into this scene? And when the I comes into it, then truly I'm just a visitor who doesn't really belong within that perfect ecosystem. If it were possible for the I to disappear, then that sense of the mismatching, that sense of not belonging, that sense of being, in a way, like alienated from reality or opposed to reality, would disappear, and it would be possible to experience a kind of perfect harmony. So I would like to invite you to, for the remainder of this morning until the next sit that we have at 2 o'clock today in California, to continue practicing and to see if you can be sensitive to this feeling of being in comfort, being at ease, or the feeling of being not comfortable, not satisfied. And seeing how the fabrication of the self takes you in the wrong direction. But if it's possible to, actually you don't need that. You can just put it down, you don't need it. And just see what you have in that moment. That is whatever manifests for you, even if what manifests for you is, I'm unhappy, or if what manifests for you is, I'm blissful, or whatever is manifesting. That's because of nature. It's because of the causes and conditions. You got the kind of birth you had, you got the kind of life you had, you have the kind of practice you have the kind of wisdom you have the material circumstances that you have, and all of that is expressed in your experience moment by moment. And so if we could find a way to actually be really open and accepting and allowing that reality for the sake of seeing it more clearly. That's my suggestion for you for this day. So that's this morning's talk. Sadhu, sadhu.